Hello, welcome back to the YouTube channel of Bethel Evangelical Free Church Hanley. I'm Pastor Gervais Charmley, and this is another historic church in Oxfordshire. This is the church of St Agatha, Brightwell. It's a Norman building with later additions. In other words, it's basically a Norman nave, or what's left of one, with on the north side a 14th century aisle, and on the south side a 13th century one. It's noted for a number of medieval brasses, including one to a Father John Schofield, who was murdered here. Yes, in the very church in 1507. I've been able to find no other information which suggests they never found out who did it. Of course, no police force in those days, and so if you didn't get caught quickly, then you fairly easy to get away with murder. The building has been extended and altered in various times. There is an 18th century, get it right, 18th century west tower, and there is no chancel arch. There was one, it's disappeared at some point. There is a great big organ chamber on the north side that contains an organ that was a labour of love and a work of art. It was built essentially as a hobby and was bought by the church here after the death of the builder. So we'll have a look around and see what we can see, including, of course, Father Schofield's brass, where he, commemorating the fact that he's murdered here. So let's have a look around. As usual, then we start at the west end. It's a medium-sized village church, really. It's sort of normal village church size. It's not huge, it's not tiny, it's not... It's a village church. Victorian restoration, of course, and most of the furnishings, including the font, which you can just see over there, are from that period. As I say, there are some brasses here. Now, in addition to the priest who was murdered, we have these. We have this couple here now. I'm trying to read what it says there, and I can't. But anyway, they are early 16th century by the look of them. You'll notice that both of them are wearing civilian clothes. He's not wearing armour, and she's, as usual, has her best dress. It's that period when we see more of these sort of civilian brasses. Font, rather Victorian, in a sort of, let's think about some medieval stuff style. And then we move through here into the south aisle. And up here we have something rather interesting. These are the arms of the late Queen Elizabeth II, painted in 1957. And this is the south aisle, just the chapel here, and then we've got the figure, where are we, of a priest here. This is John Schofield, who was murdered here in the church in 1507. And he doesn't look a very happy man, but neither would you if you'd been murdered. There's a modern church room out on the south side. I'll just have a peep through, because this is the sort of thing that you find in added these. And you can see it's just a little space with stuff in. And what's interesting here, of course, is we've got the Norman, or the remains of the Norman doorway. See, the shafts have gone, but we've basically got a Norman doorway here, and we go through here into the church. Much changed, of course, since the murder of Father Schofield. So I was pushing the door through, and it's a little bit better oiled than I expected. Lovely chandeliers being converted to electricity. Pulpit is, of course, Victorian, over Father Schofield's brass. Here we have the Millennium window. There's all kinds of Millennium windows. This one has the 4 evangelists and some aspects. So you've got Matthew, of course, as the as the tax collector being called by Jesus. We've got Mark, and we've got the fisherman behind him. We've got John and the Revelation, and Luke, and he's thinking of the Nativity and Jesus Christ the same yesterday, today and forever, AD 2000. Victorian window here of works of Court of Mercy. Only 6 of them, because it's rather difficult to get 7 things into a window unless you're very, very careful and very clever about it. So we have the pulpit, you can see up there, there is where the rood stairs come out and where the rood loft would have been. The chancel, quite large, 13th century. As we've seen, as I've noted, quite often these were the chancels are extended in the 13th century. I suspect that the floor level here has been raised because those sedilia are too low at the moment. East window, we've got Christ the Good Shepherd in the centre. And so there we are. This is the Church of St. Agatha, Brightwell. Brightwell is united with its neighbouring village of Sotwell. And there we have the organ chamber access there, and there is the organ, which was given in 1903. And so we have another medieval, late medieval brass of laymen here. And this is Robert Coote, and there he is with his wife. And north aisle, there's a couple of bits of medieval glass here. Taken from the east window of the north aisle, placed in 1905. That, of course, is when the east window of the north aisle was filled up, or was opened up, because the organ was put in beyond it. And we come back here then to the War Memorial. You can see up there we've got, centrally you've got the Union flag, and then the naval ensign on one side and the RAF flag on the other. So that is the inside here at St. Agatha's, Brightwell. And we'll be looking over to the chapel. It doesn't say where precisely Father Schofield was murdered, but sufficient to say that they found him murdered in here. Must have been an awful shock to have found him. So here we are outside at Brightwell, and I've positioned the camera so you can see the 18th century West Tower. You can see it's made of brick. It's replaced, I believe, a medieval tower that was unsafe at the time, and so it's taken down and replaced with this, which, you know, it's all about making sure that the tower's not going to fall on the building, because when they do, then they've got an awful lot of work to make up for it. I've seen places where that's happened, and sometimes, essentially what you've got is you've got a building where an awful lot of effort has had to be put into rebuilding. So this is the west end. We'll have a look around the outside. We'll note the outside of that church room that we saw the inside of earlier, and other salient features. So let's go around the outside. Perambulation. So here we are, and now you can see the tower, square top, graveyard, big house over there. I'm not sure if the old parsonage or not, I suspect not. And there's the church room. Now, church rooms, of course, it's one of those things that medieval churches are built as multi-purpose spaces. However, in the 17th, 18th, 19th centuries, they're all pewed up. And even the 19th century, when they take out the 17th century, 18th century box pews, they're still left with lots of pews. So you've then got the question, what do you do? Well, you have a church hall, a separate building, but that involves a lot of maintenance, and sometimes they're a bit big for what you need them for. And so you get the church room. And there are some older ones that are basically church halls, that very small church halls. But in the last part of the 20th century into the 21st, you get these buildings that are built on, and what they provide is a meeting space, somewhere for a creche, but also often there's somewhere for loos inside as well. Here the little link block contains those. You can see here the difference between the stonework there of the aisle and the stonework of the chancel. Now, some of the mid-20th or the later 20th century ones are absolutely hideous. They're this big lumps of concrete and glass, and there's no consideration at all. More recently, planning officers and diocesan officers, importantly, have become, shall we say, a little bit more concerned that buildings should be in keeping, and so we've got this structure here that is at least in local stone with a slate roof, even though it does have these great big glass things, but there we are. As they say, you can't have everything, and if you need a room, then you get a room. So we go round the east end here. The church is sort of tucked away in the middle of the village here, in between a couple of large houses, one of which was the old parsonage, and I suspect it's not the one that you can see of the wall, but it's the other one. Yes, that's the old parsonage over there. In fact, you can just see the gate. And the organ chambers they added 1905 to put the organ in. And there's that passageway we saw earlier. So that is the latest part of the building. And then the north aisle, the north porch is the main entrance. So that is St Agatha's, Brightwell in Oxfordshire. And so there you have it, St Agatha's, Brightwell, Oxfordshire. So thank you for watching. It's unusual to find a church where there's a memorial in there to someone who was killed on the premises. Thank you for watching, and may God bless you and keep you until next time.